Ed Snyder with Kansas Trapline Products. What I got here today is we're tumbling our furs. We want to get some of the grit out of it. We want to clean some of the blood. Some of the things that this will cycle for about 10 minutes. And I'm using a walnut grip. Come on over here and I'm going to show you the actual box of what I'm using. I get this at Harbor Freight. It's a blasting walnut shell media for tumbling. Take one box of this. I take a half a gallon of water, and I take in 2 Era clothes washing soap, 2 caps of Era, and I mix that in with the 25-pound box. That's what, and I'll refreshen that from time to time. That'll make our furs nice and soft. It'll help clean them up. You don't see any real blood on this. That's the advantages of tumbling your fur. You get that you make this thing really shine. The guard hairs stand up. They're just absolutely beautiful when you're out here in the fur shed cleaning your furs up. This way also your buyer gets a better representation of what your fur really is. If it's matted, if it's muddy, if it's dirty, well, you can't expect him to offer you a very good price when he can't see what's underneath of all of that blood, all the blood and mud. So walnut shell medium, half a gallon of water added to it, 2 caps of Era clothes washing soap is what I use. You know, when you don't feel you're getting the luster and the cleanliness of your on your hide, go ahead and at that time you can go ahead and add a little more water, add a little more clothes washing soap. And I'm certain there's many other good ideas out there. That just happens to be how I do mine. I hope that helps you on your trap line, just like it does for me. That's one of my favorite days out of the entire year, and that's called Fur Sale Day. It's time for us to get all our furs together. I'm throwing a bunch of them out right now. But something I hadn't really talked about is things that I look at when I'm on out on the trap line to try to decide whether or not fur is suitable for sale. Let's talk about some of this. And this is something that Trent Masterson had gone with me. I also suggest everyone go to Grunwald Fur and Wool, look at one of their videos on coyote grading. They're going to talk about where animals are sellable or not sellable. A lot of work goes into these pelts, and we want to get these looking right, and we got to have a good fur to go with. One thing definitely we're all interested in is having these guard hairs on the animal. I can't do much about the color of the animals that I catch. Typically, we have 2 different type of animals in our area. You know, they just vary a little bit, but they're better than some, not as good as others. But as we look at the fur, I want to see guard hairs. I want to see guard hairs everywhere. This being the Iroquois, the hackles of the animal, I want to make sure that that's all that's all solid. I want to flip it over, and do I have a good belly on this coyote? Now this is a good coyote for me. This guy's going to bring in some nice money, no doubt about it. But I got good inside belly fur, no signs of mange. I have guard hairs even coming around here to the belly side. There's no reason that when I go to sell this coyote that it's not going to bring some nice money on it. We get into weaker hides, and a lot of these we don't really have a lot of weaker hides because we can do this studying out into the field. But this is about as weak as what we're going to have, and this is not a bad coyote right there. You notice it's a little pink right in the middle? Not much, it's just a lack of hair. But for us, this is the things that we look at when we're on the trap line. I hope some of this stuff will help you as you get into grading your coyotes. Just make sure you always have a good hackle, a good Iroquois there. Make sure you have guard hairs running all the way through the animal. Also look for signs of fur that we'll just call it clipped, where it looks like someone took scissors and clipped different spots on the coyote. This coyote's okay. We got a little bit of singeing on it. I think it's still a good coyote. That happens the later the season goes, the more likely this animal will have singed hair. Video, and I'm bringing this one to you kind of reluctantly, because but I do believe we all do it, and that is ripping the hide when we get the coyote caught. We're skinning them out. You're in a hurry, and you make a bad decision, and you just yank too hard. What I have here is I have a coyote that we caught, and it is ripped out right in this zone. It happened in a blink of an eye. I mean to tell you, I gave it a good yank and she went down. Now what I do to sew these up is I'm using a leather needle. It's triangular in shape. I guess that's the right term to do. And you can see it's probably about 3 inches in length. Right now I'm using monofilament thread. I use upholstery thread, and of course there's leather thread as well, but I'm using mono right now. What I did is we scraped the hide back a little bit on each side, so this way I could get into it and sew it properly. Then what I'm going to do is I started off in the corner, right where it begins. The thing about it is the tail back here still needs to be lined up with the body in its natural position. I go ahead and I like sewing from underneath on the hide side, on the hair side. And it can be hard. And make sure you don't get your hair, the fur, in the strand. Just a baseball stitch. And repeat the other way. And I go from the hair side myself, underneath. And in the beginning, make your stitches small. Don't try to go with 1 inch gaps between the hide. And I think you're going to have yourselves a really nice hide. I'll show you how this looks when I'm done, and we'll see how the hide turned out. But it is painstaking. I got a pair of pliers here to help me push. It just takes time and patience. This is a good coyote. He does have value. If I do a good job here, we shouldn't be able to see where the animal has been cut up. It just takes time. That's the #1 thing about the whole process. But it's a good coyote. I'm not going to throw it in the ditch. I don't want to waste the animal. I mean, he's here for a purpose, and I appreciate the opportunity of harvesting him. So I'm going to take care of him, and we'll see how he looks here in a few minutes. All right. Well, I finally have this project done. Let's take a look at it. So basically I have some nice stitches all across here, little baseball stitches. You notice they're nice and tight. I got a little bit of fur that came through on this one corner. Other than that, it's very clean. I tried to make sure that the tail was in relationship to the back. The real test is going to be, now I can go ahead and flesh this animal out, but let's see how it looks on the, let's see how it does, and see if we can even see if there's a torn hide. Look at that. Got a little bit, I can see maybe a little bit right in there. Other than that, it came back pretty darn nice. Guess what? We took an animal that really probably had a value of $5 or worse, maybe a dollar bill, and now we brought it back into full value. I tell you, I had a fox years ago, and I show it in my book, 1 Square Mile. these two fox, one of them had to be sewed. It was almost ripped totally in half. The other fox was perfect. Now, I was able to use those up there at the North American Fur Auction sale because I only had the two. It was pretty easy for me to see whether or not the fur was any good or not, you know, damaged or not damaged. Now, this is in 2005, 2006, somewhere in there, and or probably when fox was bringing about $45, $50 that year. It was a really good red fox year. One fox brought me $45, the other one brought me $48 or $50. I didn't see any damage on their slips, and you know what? I couldn't tell you exactly which one they paid the $50 to. So if we take these animals, sew them back up, and look at that. We got ourselves a good coyote all over again. Folks, I think it's worth it, and thank you very much for watching. Richard and I had a great year this year. A lot of our more northern coyotes came from the Dakotas at the top. Our western Kansas coyotes are below us. There's obviously a change in color when you go to different places, and you get different quality. We certainly didn't want to chase higher quality fur, so we went out there to western Kansas and into the Dakotas to get our stuff. It was a good year. It was a tough year, just like you all had to experience. We had to deal with a lot of frozen traps in. Wax dirt just didn't cut it all the time, and all in all, we're very happy with the outcome of our fur year. Like I said, we got several hundred coyote in this photo, and we got a few more working up in the shed. But anyway, just want to say thank you for all your support that you gave us. I certainly appreciate the orders I received, and I hope I can do just as well next year like I did this year.